Hi everyone, I'm Andrew. I'm the Greenfeather director here at Stetson, and thank you for coming to our webinar. I'm gonna share a little bit about Greenfeather with y'all. Ooh, let's go there. Awesome. So a little bit about Greenfeather. It originated in 1952 as an autumn carnival. It's actually the longest student-led organization on campus. It's one thing that we are very proud of, and it's always to raise awareness for philanthropic action in our local community. This year, which I'll get into a little later, we're actually supporting two nonprofits in our community, as well as reaching out to some local businesses to help them, especially during this hard time of COVID-19. Usually, we, similar to this week, combine Greenfeather in with Homecoming and kind of combine the 2 weeks. Um, yeah, so that's a little bit about our history. Uh, Traditions of Greenfeather, some things we've always done in the past, is Airwaves is usually a event that's held during homecoming. This year we weren't able to do it because of COVID-19, but it's when teams will actually create their own dance, and it's a big competition where alumni always like coming in and watching. Currently, we're trying to figure out if this is a possibility for the spring, so I'll definitely keep everyone updated with that. Another thing we usually do during this week is Penny Wars. It's another thing where each team can donate and put their spare change in little jars and raise money that way while trying to see who can win the whole penny war. One thing we've always done in the past, which has turned into homecoming royalty done through homecoming, is we used to do Miss Greenfeather. Um, and then we've also done chalking on the sidewalk, which we haven't done this year yet, but we're actually planning for that in the spring right now, um, when hopefully there's a little bit more students on campus to be able to do that. But that's always been something where last year it was Hero Week, and we kind of made every team had their own section on the sidewalk to be able to draw little stuff for the neighborhood center, and we judged who the winners were on that. Um, yeah. Last year we raised $16,690 dollars for the neighborhood center in West Volusia. The previous Greenfeather director, Max Smith, was the one on the left in that picture right there. Was the Greenfeather director for that. So we always try to carry on each year and try to beat our last year's numbers. So yeah, what does Greenfeather look like today? Um, I'm the director. Ashley, who's also in the call right now, is our graduate assistant. She's our supervisor, and we have a committee right now of 6 students. Like I said, we're always student run, and we're very proud of that. So we're always looking for new people on our committee, and we don't have a cap for that. Whoever wants to join us and help in these philanthropic efforts are more than welcome to. Um, and then this year we're raising funds for 2 organizations, Hispanic Health Initiatives, HHI, and Community Education Project, CEP. We have representatives from both of those organizations, those nonprofits, to talk to you a little bit today after this presentation. So what is Greenfeather doing now? We added something new this year called the Spirit of Greenfeather. So usually the Greenfeather like trophy, specifically the feather trophy you see there on the rocks in front of the cub, um, that's always been whoever raises the most money. This year we've also added another trophy award during Greenfeather, the Spirit of Greenfeather. This is to the teams who have the most participation. And there's 3 different brackets. There's a small team, medium team, large team. So every organization on campus has the ability to participate fairly. And basically, the whoever has the most participation um, will get this award. Each event's a different point total when you have people sign in and stuff. But yeah, so far the teams have been really enjoying it, and that's something I can definitely see continuing in the future. This year we've also done the pitch competition. So originally, how Greenfeather worked in the past was the Greenfeather director and the graduate assistant would sit down and we would pick out the organization. But with this being a student-led organization, we wanted to have the students actually be able to choose of who they wanted to raise money for. So we had a pitch competition this year with our top 2 um, with our top two nonprofits, and they were able to talk to the community, our Stetson community, and they were able to vote on who they wanted to raise funds for this year. And then this year, which I'll get into a little bit later, is a unique year because this is the first time Greenfeather has ever raised funds for two nonprofit organizations. And then with COVID-19, we've done a lot with social media. We have several different social media competitions going on. We're going to be doing a giving day next week. If you'd like to follow us on Instagram, our Instagram is Stetson U underscore Greenfeather. We're doing Greenfeather Fridays. We actually just got done with our Greenfeather Friday today, and that's a great opportunity for teams to come in, connect with family, friends, alumni of their organizations, and see if they want to help out the local community. And this year, as some of you guys may know, we did our first virtual 5K. This is something that can always be done on your own time, and it was part of your registration for homecoming this year. So I'm sure you saw it up on there. But yeah, people are posting their pictures. If you've ran it, feel free to tag us in your pictures of it. We absolutely love seeing everyone engage with that. So the future of Greenfeather. So like I said, this is the first year that Greenfeather has had two different organizations. And one thing that we always try to do with those is connect the students and be a resource for students to connect with those nonprofits. By doing that, we want to extend Greenfeather into the spring semester. Traditionally, it would end in the fall, but we want to make it a year-long event so that students can always be engaging with our community. So this year, we are extending into the spring, and right now we are working on making it a year-long event. It's been really hard with COVID to be able to do events, but we're trying our best, and that's goes into our previous slide of trying to engage through social media. And then through our social media, we're also trying to be a resource for students to connect with nonprofits. We're doing this by actually linking every organization we work with through our social media sites. So I want to, in 10 years, for someone to come onto our social media and be like, oh, these are all the local nonprofits in Volusia County, and they'll be able to learn a little bit about them and then know their contact information to reach out and see if they can help out their community. Um, so that's what I'm currently setting up for the future of Greenfeather. And our goal this year is going to be $12,000 compared to the $10,000 we've always done. We're always aiming higher and higher, and in recent years we've seen that we can go higher. So if you can go higher, always aim higher. Um, but yeah, so for the first time ever, like I said, Greenfeather is raising funds for two organizations, the Hispanic Health Initiatives and Community Education Project. Um, yeah, if you ever feel compelled to donate today, I think Olivia's putting the link down in the chat. And I'm going to hand it over to Josephine now to talk about the Hispanic Health Initiatives.
Thank you, Andrew, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Stetson University, as well as Greenfeather Selection Committee, for giving us the opportunity to present to you today. My name is Josephine Mercado. I am the founder and executive director of Hispanic Health Initiatives. And excuse me while I adjust my pages here. Next slide, please. Some of you may not know who Hispanic Health Initiative is. Hispanic Health Initiatives is a grassroots, community-based 501c3 organization founded 20 years ago. Initially, we've been working in the counties of Orange, Osceola, Seminole, and Volusia. And since 2016, we have been focusing on the county of Volusia. Our office is now in the Barry, and that's how we met the wonderful students from Stetson University. Our team is often referred to as community health workers. Basically, that's what we are, promotores de salud, community health workers. And it consists of a group of individuals very much like yourselves, people from all walks of life, people of different cultures, different professions, and different interests. Our team does have a common goal, and that is that we share the passion to champion a cause and the compassion to help those less fortunate. And that's how Hispanic Health Initiatives came into being in the year 2000. Why were we founded? We saw some unmet health needs in the underserved communities of those 4 counties and formed a group of volunteers that wanted to help address some of those needs. Basically, we started building a bridge between the providers and the community. We focused on services that the community, the Hispanic community needed, primarily because we saw that the greatest need was the issue of language barrier, as well as the cultural barriers to services. And for that reason, we focused on the Hispanic community. We do service everyone. In fact, today, over 40% of our clientele are non-Hispanic. Our primary objective is to address those existing health disparities by eliminating barriers that limit access to competent health services for the Hispanic and underserved communities. We do this by creating programs and projects that are convenient to the community. All our work is directly in the community. We pick times and places that are convenient for them simply because we know that Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, they are at work. So it may be that instead of doing our work at between 9 and 5, we might start at 4:30 and stay till 8:30, or we might be working on a Saturday or Sunday from time to time. I'm sorry, would you go to the next slide? I'm not used to the next slide, Olivia. Uh, well, maybe you went one over. That's the slide, yes, I'm sorry. There are 3 pillars on which Hispanic Health Initiatives programs are based. We look to educate the community because we want to relay competent health information to them, and at the same time raise their health literacy and connect them with some of that information that they need in order to prevent or control certain chronic diseases. We also advocate, we pledge to stand up and speak for those less fortunate individuals within our community when it deals with access to health and social services. There were many services that our community was not accessing, and that was primarily because of their lack of awareness that those services existed, and they never bothered to ask. But once we came into being, we were able to connect them with those services. And those services that did not exist, we were able to also bridge that gap by telling them they need this or they need that, whatever it was. We also served as interpreters from time to time. And finally, we connect people with a lot of those health and social services that providers have been trying to connect with our community for some time and were not able to for all sorts of different reasons. Transportation, for instance, was another barrier to access health care. Our current program, next slide, please. Our current program is operating in West Volusia, and currently we are funded through the West Volusia Hospital Authority Taxing District, and these are property taxes that are being collected for the care of the indigent residing in West Volusia. So many times the programs and locations and clients are dictated by that funding source. And that being said, HHI's clientele for its current program are all low-income, uninsured residents of West Volusia. We attempt to create awareness and educate around the chronic diseases that our community is at high risk of. Chronic diseases such as type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, things that can lead to heart attacks, obesity. We also do body mass index discussion with our clients. And of course, we focus on, as I said, initially type 2 diabetes. So we sit with our clients and do what we call a health risk assessment for chronic disease. And there we screen them for glucose, cholesterol, blood pressure, BMI. Those screening results are combined with the person's medical history as well as their personal medical history with the idea of figuring out what are some of the possible chronic diseases they may come across in the future. And our ultimate goal is to help them prevent or control them if they already are on that way, and at the same time make them more engaged in their own health. And we do that by educating them about healthy nutrition. We also educate them about the use of physical exercise of any kind. Uh, Many are under the impression that they need to do 30 minutes straight through in order for them to qualify for 30 minutes a day type of exercise 5 times a week. But we explain to them sometimes it's simple. It could be 10 in the morning, 10 in the afternoon, and 10 in the evening, and that is still 30 minutes. And we also encourage them to change some of the ways that food is prepared. For instance, in the Latino community, we do eat a lot of fried foods. We introduce many of our clients to the air fryer, and they have been using that since. They do not bother frying their foods in deep pots of lard or fat, whatever it is that they were frying them in before. So a part of it is just connecting the community with a lot of the information that's already out there, but for whatever reasons, they have not been able to access it. Eventually, we will work through, as part of the screening session, we will help them prepare what we call a health work plan, where they will select 2 or 3 goals insofar as their health. It might be something as simple as not eating after a certain hour every day, especially if you're diabetic. A lot of diabetics around 9:30, 10 o'clock, they get hungry again, and they sometimes wind up having some of those leftovers. We encourage them to have something that's lighter, like a piece of fruit or something that is not going to be another full dinner as they had before. And that has helped a lot of people control the problem, because that apparently was one of the problems in some households. We also then connect them with the primary care facilities that are available to them in their community. So we do referrals for not only primary care, but we also do referrals for all sorts of social services that they qualify for and are totally unaware of how they can access them. Now we have been very fortunate, and we want to once again thank the Greenfeather Selection Committee. We are very appreciative and thankful for having been selected as a 2020 Greenfeather awardee. And with those funds, they're going to go to help us. And can you go to the next slide? I'm sorry, I keep on forgetting. Okay, that's the slide. Okay, with those funds, we have been donated this truck, which is a medical mobile unit. It has 2 fully loaded exam rooms, and we plan to use this medical mobile unit to not only go out into the rural areas, but also to enhance our programs and to build capacity through the program development for the sustainability of our programs. Enhancing the program to us would mean that existing programs would include, right now we've been focusing on chronic diseases. We would like to include HIV screening and counseling. And in fact, some of the Stetson students have already gone with us to do some of the training to become HIV counselors with us. So our goal is to bring this extra program into the community. It also is important for you to know that many people do not go for HIV screening because they see that there's a stigma with getting that type of screening and so on, at least in the Latino community. And the fact that we do other kind of screening will also encourage them to get screened for the HIV without no one really knowing. So it offers a sense of confidentiality, and they do feel like they can go in and get screened with us. So that is one of the values of having the medical mobile unit and having programs aside from HIV screening, other programs. The mobility will be an increase of persons tested too, because now we can go to all sorts of places that we couldn't go to before. One of the things for HIV screening is that there has to be complete confidentiality. And that cannot be done out in the street under a tent or anything like that. That's very difficult. So for that reason, this unit will help us do what we need to do for our community without any issues about the confidentiality. Next slide, please. The current programming, as I started to tell you before, is a health risk assessment. We screen for glucose, cholesterol, blood pressure, body mass index, and then we educate them on nutrition and physical fitness. Healthy nutrition and physical fitness are our two medicines. Everything else, we leave it in the hands of the doctor and the medical profession. We tell them we also encourage them to follow the doctor's advice and to follow the regimens that they're put under with medications. We are not nurses, we are not doctors. As I said earlier, we're just people from the community that know a little bit more than the next door neighbor about some of the things that we're talking about. And we do a lot of hand holding, which helps them go in the direction that they need to go for better health. The enhanced programming, as I said earlier, will include the HIV screening and counseling, and it will reduce the stigma of receiving HIV tests. Is there another one? Can you go to the next one? Okay. The medical unit will increase service area where we're going to be able to do these screenings. And it will also increase the possibility for future collaborations, because that medical unit has 2 exam rooms. So the idea, we only need 1. So the idea is to bring someone else along with us. So if we can find another agency in the community that has another service that would be of value to our community, we can invite them to come along and they will have use of the other unit. And can we go to the next one? Next slide. Okay, this is a view of the inside of the unit. We expect to have it up and running in another 2 months. We were told that it should be ready by January. And we are looking forward to getting it on the road because, as I said, it's going to build our capacity. We expect to get through the sustainability that this is going to establish, we expect to contract with a program development person who will write grants and help us find other funds. And it will open up all sorts of future funding possibilities for Hispanic health initiatives, which is one of the things that Hispanic health initiatives had a problem with actually ever since 2013. But I think that this is going to make a big difference. And we have been connected, the next slide, please. We have been connected with the Stetson community since, I believe, 2015, 2016. 2016, that was when we started in Volusia County. And these are some of the students that have helped us in the past. Some of them are graduates now. I'm happy to say they continue as volunteers. So we made a positive imprint on them. And one of them even serves on our board now, I'm very happy to say too. Nonetheless, I'm looking forward to working with the Greenfeather group and to continue working with the Bonner students, and we'll take it from there. Next slide. Okay, the question and answer session is at the end. However, that's some of my contact information. And Pete is the director of operations. He has the direct responsibility of running the program with Stetson University. So he's really the person that you would be contacting. However, my email is the same. It's just josephine@hhi2001.org. Thank you. And now I want to turn it over to Sarah, who I believe there's a video that will be presented.
everyone. Thank you all for this opportunity to share a little bit about our project and our plans for the Greenfeather Grant Runner-Up money. My name is Dr. Sarah Kramer. I'm a professor here at Stetson in the Department of Environmental Science and Studies, and I teach classes about sustainable food systems for our Sustainable Food Systems program. I wanted to start with this quote from one of our current students in the community education project. This is Jacob. He said, "There's not very much care in here. People don't have things to care about. It would be nice to have something to care for. That's why we love Stetson so much. You come in here and give us something to care about, and a garden would be one more thing to care about." So just a little overview of what I want to cover today. I apologize that I can't be there live with you all, but I hope that this video will give you a sense of where we will be investing these funds. So for those of you not familiar with the Community Education Project, here's the mission statement from the CEP page on the Stetson website. So the Community Education Project is a multidisciplinary college and prison program at Stetson University committed to offering quality liberal arts education and learning opportunities in Florida prisons. Access to a liberal arts education offers incarcerated individuals meaningful opportunities for personal growth and intellectual engagement, which benefits our community as a whole. And these are a couple photos of our students. The photo on the left is when our former president, Dr. Wendy Libby, visited the Tomoka campus a few years back. A little overview about the project itself. So it was established at Stetson in January of 2015. There are currently about 20 CEP students enrolled as Stetson students. They are receiving Stetson credits from classes that are also taught on the DeLand campus. So my first introduction to CEP when I first arrived at Stetson was to give a guest lecture about honeybees and beekeeping. But then 2 summers ago, I was able to offer a full credit-bearing course, which is Introduction to Food Studies, which is a course that I teach every semester on the DeLand campus. And so I'll talk a little bit more about the connection between that course and our community garden project. But I do want to emphasize that CEP students, though they are incarcerated at Tomoka Correctional Institution, they are still earning Stetson credits for their work, and they're being taught by Stetson professors and taking the same classes as students on the DeLand campus. Over the years, more than 40 Stetson faculty, staff, and administrators have participated in the program by teaching credit-bearing classes, offering workshops, or giving those one-time guest lectures. I also want to highlight the relationship with the Bonner program. So CEP over the years has seen a number of Bonner interns and students doing summers of service. And so there is a strong relationship there. And then the last thing that I want to mention is, like everything, CEP has had to shift and adjust during the pandemic. So the last time that we were physically in the prison with students was in early March, right before the DeLand campus of Stetson shut down and the prison was put on full lockdown. So no visitors were allowed to come and go. And so it's been 8 months, a very long time since we have physically been able to interact with our students. It's been incredibly challenging for everybody involved. It's been hard to be away from them, but also prisons have really been the epicenters of much of the pandemic. And so we are concerned for them constantly. We're constantly concerned for our students' safety and well-being. And also it was an abrupt end to several credit-bearing courses that were being offered in the spring. So since we are on this hiatus, is what we're calling it, this time away from physically being in the prison, we have shifted to focus our efforts on other aspects of programming to address both the needs of our students and also bigger issues related to incarceration. So we have developed a committee that's focused exclusively on reentry programming. So developing a guide and support for students upon their release from prison so that they can be treated as returning citizens and help receive help in re-entering our communities. We also have focused a lot on newsletter correspondence. So on the next slide, I have a few photos of one of our newsletters that has really turned into quite a project. So we have a theme every month, and we have a number of staff writers, myself included, that write articles connected to our theme that are also relevant to our areas of expertise. And so our October one was spooky themed, and that was super fun to write. But then we also have had a pattern theme, a gardening theme, movement and migration. So I would love to share those with you. If you send me a note, I could share the PDF of our newsletter, and we also post them in the CEP Facebook page. But anyway, we've been thinking constantly about how to reconnect with students when we return, and also how to stay in touch with them right now. And so I think that though the community garden project was incredibly important before the pandemic, we have seen a new focus on outdoor education, ways to connect with students in a safe environment, and outdoors is a safe place to be generally right now, but then also to really think about leaning into things like the horticulture therapy angle of our work, and rebuilding relationships with students, and rebuilding the community that we have together. So I think that the community garden project feels even more urgent than it did in the spring when we were first pitching it. Here are two shots of our food and gardening themed newsletter, which was super fun, and it was excited to use this theme and start getting students to think again about the garden project. We always include, like I said, articles, but also poems that are related to the theme, infographics, photos. We have drawing instructions from an art professor on our team. We have a sports column, we have a caption contest. So it's really become quite an exciting way to stay in touch with our students. So a few notes about why we want a community garden at the prison. So this was an idea that came out of that credit-bearing food studies course that I offered 2 summers ago. We got to the end of the course, and the end of that course every semester is what next? Food activism, what can we do to change the food system for the better? And this was an idea that the students really felt strongly about. There used to be a lot more agricultural programming at Tomoka specifically, and there still are a number of prison farms and gardens throughout the country, but to have a space that is specifically focused on both food production and also wellness in general, and teaching within our liberal arts mission, that would be a totally new concept for both CEP and for the prison. So we're very excited about the way that this garden can be a learning landscape and also a very interdisciplinary space. So I just have a few notes here about additional benefits of this project and why we're so excited about it. It really feels like a win-win-win that could benefit our students. It could help us reach beyond our students to the rest of the population of folks who are currently incarcerated at Tomoka. There are opportunities to collaborate with students on the DeLand campus. We have ideas for a seed saving project, for donating food to both the food service in the prison or also donating it outside of the prison. Students really feel strongly about giving back to the community. So there's just so much potential here, and we're very, very excited about it. I also wanted to highlight a few example programs that already exist at jails and prisons throughout the country, even a few here locally. So there's a robust gardening program at the Volusia County Jail that supplies a lot of the produce there. And then other state prisons under the purview of the Florida Department of Corrections have various types of educational and agricultural programs. And again, what makes this garden very special is that it is part of our liberal arts focus, that it's not viewed as vocational training, though there are lots of tangible skills that come with gardening, but that it is seen as a teaching tool to be able to offer more courses like the courses that we already have on the DeLand campus. A few more reasons why we're very committed to this idea of a community garden. The reason why the Community Education Project is called the Community Education Project is to emphasize that people who are incarcerated are members of our community. The problems that affect them are our concern too, even though prisons are far from many of our minds. We want to really think about those people as members of our community. And so health problems that face people in prison are our problem to deal with too. There are a lot of societal issues that we see magnified in the prison context. So things like poverty, health disparities. And so a community garden is not going to solve all of those problems, but it really is a tangible way to start chipping away at some of those major issues. We also have a number of short-term and long-term goals, which I'm not going to get into here, but again, I have my email at the end of this presentation if you want more information about this proposal specifically. We also have worked alongside both the director of the wellness programming. We've had students build bridges with the director of food service, and we are in touch with the warden and everybody up the line to make sure that this project will be sustainable and that it will be supported. So this is a major infrastructure addition to the prison. And of course, we have to operate with all sorts of security concerns in mind, but we are collaborating with everyone possible to make sure that this gets on the ground and in the ground as soon as possible. I also wanted to highlight a few quotes from our students when we talked to them about the idea and when we told them way back in the spring about this pitch and that we were going to be sharing their ideas more broadly for the Greenfeather competition. So one student said, "I don't want to be reminded I'm an inmate. Garden is a way I could do real things, not prison things." Another student said, "You're not an inmate, you're a human being, and that connection is reinforced when you're pulling something from the earth." And another student said, "Part of what could be accomplished with the return to a community garden inside prison would be a self-worth and self-esteem benefit for the men participating. Those who were scheduled for release within a few years would go out in a better, more positive mindset, which will be needed to overcome all the unknown challenges they will undoubtedly face." And then finally, here's a quote from Ben. "So this project will not only allow myself and others to learn more about cultivating foods, it will build community relations and support the compound with nutritious food products. Our goal is to set up a food system that provides a variety of healthy food items. This garden will enhance our foodways and bring a meaningful change for the better. I now consider myself an active member of the food democracy. This project means a lot. Please consider the many benefits this project has to offer." And so what makes me smile so much about this quote is not just thinking about Ben, who again, we haven't seen in months, but that he uses so many food studies vocabulary words in his quote. So I knew that he was really paying attention in class. Thank you all again for watching this video in lieu of me being there in real time. Here is my email address, skramer@stetson.edu. I would be happy to answer any questions about the garden specifically or about some of the other programming that we have planned. If you have general questions about CEP, there's the overall CEP email, communityeducation@stetson.edu. And thank you again for this opportunity. We are so excited to be able to pick up where we left off with students in the spring, again, when we had to leave because of the pandemic. And we feel like the garden is such an important way to reconnect once we're able to get back into the prison. So we're excited to be able to report back to them on everything that we've accomplished in the meantime in making this dream of theirs a reality. So thank you and stay safe.